Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I fully intended to be over the workshop this evening, and I wanted to do the part 2 um, of the video I shot me shooting on the range at 30 and 75 metres. There was so much more in that video what I needed to say and wanted to put across, but as the video is already 39 minutes, I know no one's going to sit there and watch 39 minutes of footage, so I cut it as short as I dare whilst keeping it real. The second part of what I wanted to do, and I was so regret not being at the workshop. Unfortunately today at work I got an injury in this leg and I can hardly move it, and it's quite painful to sit down even. What I wanted to cover on the video and show you on the target cards were the results you saw on the video were not entirely accurate as such, in they didn't do the guns justice. The day before I shot that video I was out on the range, I had zero wind and the guns behaved much differently, especially the 22 HW95. It was shooting beautiful. When I got out on the range on the one I did video, I'd pre-zeroed the HW99 with HW's FT brand pellets, and it was shooting great. When the day I actually shot the second video, which I posted up, don't ask me how, I unscrewed the cap of the pellets and they went out of my hand in the mud, and I had to wash them basically, so I took them back to the workshop and fetched some RWS Superdomes. The HW95 loves them at close range, but by God, when you start pushing it out past 40, no, it didn't like them at all. I'm assuming the case for that one is that the Superdome, if you look at the head of the pellet, even though it's called a Superdome, it isn't really. It's very close to being a wad cutter, and when I was out on the range, the wind come out to play, I was having difficulty finding like the fall shots to aim off. On the crosshair post you had like the lower vertical post, and then you have the thin crosshair with the mil dots on. My hold point was 6 inches above my intended point of impact, with the broad part of the lower crosshair. That was incredibly difficult to get a consistent hold on that, it really was. Bearing in mind, to make things fair, I'd dialed down all the scopes to 9 mag as well, so it wasn't probably the greatest thing to do, trying to shoot 75 metres on 9 mag, but hey ho, we work with what we've got. The second thing, the video really didn't do it justice in the wind, in the conditions I was shooting. Further down range, a couple of times I've got a like a bench rest I'd built up years ago. It's not a bar stool as someone commented, it's actually a padded rest, and how I shoot from it is I rest my hand on there and rest rifle on my hand. It's all padded and stuff, so it's nice and comfortable on my hand. But what I'm trying to get at, the wind was so strong down there, a couple of times it was actually blowing me off target, and I don't mean when I pulled the trigger blowing me off, I mean the wind was so strong it was gusting me off my seat sort of thing, and that come very apparent shooting the HW95. On that day, if you done just on group sizes alone, they were quite abysmal other than the FWB. But the day before it was a different case. I wrote down the size creeps I was getting. The HW95, once I'd walked my shots in, I put 8 shots through a 50mm disc that they all landed on it. On the HW99S it was 45mm grip, and this is obviously at 75 metres, not at the 30. If I was shooting 50mm groups at 30 yards, I'd give up shooting, never touch a gun again in my life. The FWB was shooting 30mm groups, obviously at 75. What was interesting is the FWB, that's pushing out with QYS pellets, 11.7 foot-pounds, and I was having a 6 to 7 inch drop at 75 metres from the 30 metre zero. The HW99, which shooting at 10.9, I had a 9 inch drop, and the 95, which is shooting 11.2 with, oh god, Air Arms Field, even though I was using a heavier pellet. Air Arms Field pushes out at 11.2. I was getting at 75 metres, I was getting an 18 inch drop from the 30 metre zero. So that's double the drop I was getting with the 99, and 3 times the drop I was getting with the FWB, which is quite interesting. The other thing what I wanted to talk about is what amazed me was the effect the wind was having on the pellets. Now, I've always had it in my head, a heavier pellet is less affected by wind, and 2.2 at long ranges will drift off far less than 177. There's a whole load of maths and physics behind it, and ballistic coefficients and all the rest of it. However, theory goes only so far. In the real world, out on the range, I was getting far more wind drift with the 2.2 than I was the 177s. I wasn't using a terribly light pellet. I think I was using 10.43 in the QYS, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. And the T2s were 14, either 14 or 16s. But what I want to say, what I want to put across on this video is, don't dismiss like the 95 as a junky gun. One, I was shooting at extreme ranges for a 12 foot-pound air rifle, really was. The gun is really, really very good. I'd put a lot of those shots on downrange as shooter error, and changing the pellets around halfway through, like testing kind of thing. Like I say, the other day I think I got about a 6 to 7 inch creep with the 95. That's a big difference from the 2 inch or 50mm creep I'd shot the previous day, but I'll put that factor down all to wind. That's really all I want to cover, really. I wanted to put across what the follow-up, like the critique of the shooting session, really. And the other thing, what I really comes across on the video, we all hear every now and again, if you read comments and stuff about people, whether they're using a PCP or a Springer, about taking live quarry out at 60 yards, even further than that. That is just ridiculous in my mind. Yeah, you can fluke an odd shot in at that range, but as proven on my last video on the range, you only got to get a gust of wind come along. As soon as you pull that trigger, a gust of wind, and that curve, that pellet off like 2-3 inches wind deflection, and that is a wound. At best it's a miss, hopefully a miss. At worst that's a wounding shot, and simply as countrymen we shouldn't be about wounding at all. It is our duty to ensure a humane dispatch of quarry. If we're taking the responsibility to shoot live quarry and take animals and birds' lives, we should be doing it in a professional, humane and safe manner. Like I say, a quick way to lose your shoot, guys, is if the landowner walks around and he starts finding lots of injured shot animals. Apart from the morality of it all, I mean, you know, it's just not worth taking long shots, and this is the whole reason I wanted to get out on the range and do this 75-metre shoot, and to prove, you know, that you really shouldn't be doing it. In absolutely super ideal conditions, I would say probably up to 50 metres max. The guns have plenty of power to dispatch quarry humanely, but it's your shooting up to it. You've got to be honest with yourselves, guys. If you're shooting more than like an inch group or so, you shouldn't really be shooting live quarry at the ranges where you're shooting above an inch group. You should be pulling your shots in. And besides, what happened to good old fieldcraft? Yeah, it's all well and good marksmanship, but what happened to good old fieldcraft where you didn't need to rest your gun on a gatepost and pop a bunny's clogs at 50 metres? What happened to good old fieldcraft where you stalked up to it, got within 25 metres and dispatched it cleanly? And I'll say to the guys who'll go on to the comments saying, yeah, I regularly shoot at 50 metres and stuff, be honest with yourselves. You don't need to put it in the comments, but be honest with yourselves. Out of all them 50-metre shots, how many times do you wound quarry? That's a question for yourself to be honest with. You can put it in comments and argue the toss with me, but I've been shooting a hell of a long time, and I know you're more likely to get wounds than you are clean kills. So what I'm saying is bring your rangers in and do the job properly, and hopefully you guys will watch this little video. I'm sorry for like the backdrop and all the rest of it, but hey ho, hope you guys enjoy. Cheers guys.